Hello, everybody. This is Alicia and Liz, and we are Decoded TV Network, and this is Yellowjackets Decoded. Today, we're going to break down, deep dive into Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 7, titled Burial. Here we go. Hey, Liz, how you doing?
Good. Hi. I'm
Hi.
doing well.
Good. How did you feel about this episode?
I loved this episode. It was so good.
It's so good. Oh, I loved it too.
There were so many good parts and so many bits and pieces that really resonated, and God, the music drops, the song choices were amazing. It was a very emotional episode. I loved it.
It was, yeah. So when, we're watching it and got past the cold open and went into the credits, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They've changed it a little bit. This isn't the same artist. And like moments in, I just heard the very, very specific sound of my favorite music artist,
Alanis
Morissette.
How could you tell that was her?
She's my favorite artist anyway, so I feel like that's something where like I would know her voice anywhere, but she has a very distinct way sometimes that she ends her phrases with her voice, and usually that's how I can tell it's her.
Imitated or
An old man turned 98. He won the lottery and died the next day. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. It's a death row pardon, 2 minutes too late. And isn't it ironic? It's like rain on your wedding day. It's the free ride when you've already paid. So it's like this lilt, this sort of thing that she pulls back on, like at the end of her phrases.
You've never sung for me before. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
You're so good.
Thank you.
We need more of that every episode.
Okay, sounds good. I'll send you a couple songs I've been practicing.
That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't get it that great. I didn't pick necessarily the right song. But yeah, she has this little it's not like a yodel, but it's just a little bit of this sort of lateral open sound that sort of happens at the ends of her phrases. She's Canadian, so I don't know if that has something to do with it or what, but I was like, I'm almost positive this is Alanis. And so I was like eagle-eyeing the opening credits, and they didn't say anything, but at the end it did say that it was performed by her, which I thought was really appropriate for this episode. She's very vocal about her own journey and struggles, and she's, an empath, and so she really makes an effort to, try and connect with other empaths and kind of share with them different things that she's done and used throughout the years that have helped her to, protect her mental health. I just thought that it tied in really well to this episode, and especially with the, adult versions of the women we're doing and trying to explore their own issues and self-care and stuff like that. So it was really cool. I loved that. And I definitely felt very connected and in tune to the themes of the episode.
I love that you're able to tie that together, but you're able to bring that deeper meaning.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I thought this was great. I thought the beginning was hard, and I couldn't imagine when the shot where all of the snow is built up so high around the house.
Right.
Gave me such anxiety.
Did it?
Maybe it's because I live in Texas, so I'm not used to snowstorms like that. But is that something that if you're not shoveling, that's normal and that happens?
No. I mean, unless you're way up in the mountains, no. I did experience one blizzard, like a proper blizzard. And I think I've told you this story too. When it was starting, my former partner and we were kind of prepping for it, and we had our 2 pugs at the time, and we thought, oh, gotta let them out real quick before it gets too bad.
Right.
We opened our back door, and we were each holding a pug and set them down, and they disappeared.
Oh no! Oh yeah.
Digging for pugs.
Digging for pugs.
They both came out covered in snow, looking very nonplussed.
I was gonna say, yeah, were they pissed? Were they freaked out? Were they shaking it off? Get this off me.
What just happened?
What is that? Yeah, so confused.
Yeah. Dropped us in a snowbank. But yeah, within 30 minutes, the snow was up to halfway up our back door.
Wow.
We couldn't get out.
Wow.
And neither could they. And they were
Yeah.
very happy about that.
Yeah, that is crazy. I definitely felt worried about them. I was like, this is bad.
Well, did you notice the buzz, the unreliable narrator alert buzz at the very beginning?
Yes, I did.
And I was wondering, what that could have been about. And so I wrote, maybe, these girls have been locked up in this cabin of death for who knows how many days. And I wondered if they were all kind of retreating the way Coach Ben has been.
Oh,
if
yeah.
that's what the buzz was about, that they're all kind of in their heads, in their own head spaces. Or maybe it was primarily about Shauna kind of being locked in a world of just, it's just me and you against the world, kid mentality of her grief. But there was the buzz.
No, I think you have a great point. I didn't even think about it that way because I was trying to figure out, like, we've gotten accustomed to it happening with Ben, but haven't really seen it used in other way. Well, I guess we saw it a little bit with Ty and Van in the TV and that crossfade.
Yeah. And we saw it last week with the past before the video.
Yeah.
They've been using it more at the very beginning of an episode, but I don't think it's like a theme song or credits thing. I think it's a deliberate alert that we're going deeper inside something that is unreliable.
Yeah. So perhaps too, it's meant to, like you just said, it's meant to represent all of them are maybe in their heads. We may not see like what they're all thinking, but they're all kind of in that similar space. I think that's a great observation.
Theory. About the theme song, I wrote dark, slower, dark in capital letters, and trippy, which kind of follows through later on in the episode.
Yeah. And as much as like I like the theme and can tie it together, I'm still curious as to why they chose to switch it with this episode. Usually you would see something like that happen like at the start of a season, or maybe in like a season finale where it's trying to sort of point out that this episode is gonna be different in some way.
Yeah, I think it's about
the
trippiness of it, the hallucinatory nature of a lot of the scenes. I don't know. The title, Burial, many, many meanings. The obvious one of Shauna buries her baby. Everyone was kind of buried in that cabin under all that snow.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
In the present, the women are talking about having repressed or buried a lot of their memories, feelings around the 19 months. And then I just noted, and rebirth. The snow stops. They're able to get out of the cabin. We get some reveals about what's going on present day.
Yeah, it was really everything tied together very well, or at least in an interesting way.
Yeah, neatly.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on Coach Ben and sort of him waking up. And, I guess we know where that was heading. But like initially, I thought, okay, is he ready to be more of a leader? Is he ready to wake up? Is he, I didn't see it heading towards, I'm going to go and take myself out.
Well, and to be more serious, what you often hear about suicide is that one of the things to look for in someone who's depressed, like deeply, deeply depressed, is a sudden mood shift, as if suddenly everything's better. And that's often because they've come to terms with, what they're going to do.
Okay.
Nothing, all their worries are gone because they've got clarity of forward momentum.
Okay. That makes more sense to me now. Yeah.
And
I didn't see it coming. Did you, when you saw him doing that, was that the first thing you thought?
Yeah. But he partners saying, he's not ready. And, you can't be here anymore. And then Coach Ben running outside and calling his name. And the girls are like, are you okay? And he looks off in the distance and it's like he sees someone. And that's the moment where he realizes, oh, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
And he's happy. He shaves,
right?
Prepares, climbs the mountain.
Yeah,
I saw it. But fuck Coach Ben.
I know, right? I was like hopeful for a minute that he was gonna be more of a leader, and then I realized, oh no, I was wrong.
Well, maybe.
But maybe my hope is that seeing Misty break down like that, because she was trying to manipulate him.
Oh yeah. It was great.
And when she realized none of that was working and was just like honest and revealed how truly scared she was and that they needed him, it was the first time I think maybe that he really saw that. And maybe I'm hoping maybe it jostled him a little bit to be like, dude, you're the adult here.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
He's still in the Mari bin with me.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I agree that I'm hoping, but not
hopeful.
Yeah, there we go. Or not necessarily expecting it, but
We're not out of the woods yet, Coach
yeah.
Ben.
So how
So
did you yeah, you were they very like closed in, they're all in there in the grief of losing the baby.
yeah, all in it together. And
Mhm.
then Lottie, the snow stopped. And then Travis, I like how they were all hooked together, like full, full.
Yeah.
They got out and they're shoveling their way out. And, that's part of the rebirth bit. Yeah. And it's all after a big storm, you're always really happy to get outside
Hmm.
because you're trapped in for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Ty's trying to get to Shauna, like a walk might be good for you. When we saw Shauna outside suddenly carrying her child, I wondered if that was real for a moment.
Oh, like real in the sense it was like whether or not she was really carrying the child, or real in like whether it was in her mind or not.
In her mind or not.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was real. And she
Yeah.
buried him
Yeah.
under rocks. In my notes, I wrote, what other culture does this or did this? Look up, but I didn't have time.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Here,
was a little, I mean, that was a tough one because it's snowing and that's going to melt. And, also animals would probably be able to get to it. I know it's a horrible thing to say, but that was what I was thinking, was that like, well, you're kind of just setting him there.
hi, Dark Alicia. Nice to meet you. I know you. Yeah, I think it was just I need to,
Yeah.
and I don't want anyone else to be a part of this.
Okay.
I didn't even want them knowing where he
Yeah.
is.
That makes sense. It's like just for her. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's just you and me, kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, she in her mind, they still all want to eat her baby.
Right. I didn't even think about that. So she knows, like, I need to, yeah. Okay.
And tuck him away somewhere, and I'll deal with this later. But for now, I don't trust any of these bitches around
Okay.
around this child.
That makes total sense.
So we see what she's thinking is kind of validated when talk of Crystal comes up.
Right.
And ooh,
Right.
I hope she didn't die, but if she did,
Oof.
ooh, well, might not be that bad. But I hope we find her. But if we do, might not be the worst thing. But oh no, I hope we find her. Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, that conversation made me so uncomfortable.
Dark, yeah.
Oof. You know what I thought about? Speaking of Dark Alicia.
Please, yes.
Oh man, this is dark. But I thought about how before you eat anything, you don't know if you like it or not.
God, okay.
Yeah. And so being forced into eating a person is something that most of us would never be faced with. And how horrible would it be if you did that and you liked it? And then still had to like function and realize that that's not really going to be on a menu anywhere.
Dark Alicia can go back to bed.
That's what I thought about. I'm like, y'all are saying this out loud, guys. Like, this is
okay. Dark Alicia, there's a movie for that. It's called Fresh. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Watch it. Okay. That's all you need.
Okay. Dark Alicia is leaving now.
She's going to go watch Fresh.
She's going to go watch Fresh.
Realize that has already been written.
See, I always think I'm like the first with an idea, but
oh no.
Rarely is that ever, if never is true.
I'm still stuck on, it's not on the menu at a restaurant. What do you do? Good Lord.
But that's how I felt when they were talking about that. I know it's about survival.
No, I know.
And I know they're starving, but just the way the conversation went made me uncomfortable because I'm like, ladies, I really hope this is coming from a place of starvation.
Man.
But I felt for Misty hearing them call her a psychopath.
She's so excited because they were like, God, she really came through in the clutch.
Yeah.
Amazing. And well, why wouldn't she? She's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah.
So the whole episode, I kept writing, Misty, good actress, bad actress, good actress, bad actress. Even with the speech with Coach Ben.
I agree.
I don't think that she was really laying out her feelings. I think she tried every angle and then went back to the conversation and what's been on her mind. Oh God, the trauma of losing Shauna's baby. I'm so distraught that I couldn't save him.
So you really felt like the end of that monologue was also acting. You didn't think that that was authentic.
I think there were authentic emotions in that she's feeling so shut out and ostracized again. And that's sadness.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it had anything to do with Shauna's baby, because after that conversation, cut to the cabin where she's saying, all right, guys, I know the death of Shauna's baby is really like sad and tragic, but we've got to look for Crystal.
And see, that was bad. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I was like,
sad, right? But you see there, like, I
yeah.
don't think the death of that baby really affected her.
No, I don't either.
And so I don't think any emotions about not being able to save it were coming through. I think that was all desperation and, God, if I'm caught with another body, what are they going to do then?
What am I going to do? Yeah. So I get more sociopath vibes from her than psychopath, but I don't know. What do you think?
No, you're right. So, and I was actually thinking about half an hour before we started recording this, I don't know if she's a true sociopath. I think it's more born of and what she's dealt with growing up. We don't know anything about her home life, but you know, a sociopath can be made. You're ostracized, bullied, and you start to form walls, and eventually other people don't matter as much.
Right. Yeah.
Other people's feelings become less important and less real. Yeah. I believe it's one of those made sociopaths versus someone
I also kind of feel for her because she has done a lot. I feel like at this point, any bullying that's going on in that cabin, man, you know, between these girls, just let it go. It just seems so petty given the circumstances.
I know. It's terrible. It's terrible. She's an easy mark, and they'll use it whenever they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's move forward.
Post credits, you have the scene where everybody is giving up their stuff and Natalie is leading the charge to collect everything.
I laughed so hard when Van said, okay, I got to ask, are you two in a cult now?
Yeah.
Lottie tries to trot out her old party line of, we are not a cult. We are an intentional community, turning suffering into strength.
Oh, so, right. Yeah, like her script. Yeah.
As our best selves. And with the women, she gets as far as, we're an intentional community.
That's it.
And she looks kind of dejected when she says it, and her hair is a little straggly, and it's like,
this is freaking me out too much. This is all I can muster.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Because she is starting to come apart a little bit, a lot, you know, and so pieces of her pitch are falling away because she's going into her head.
Yeah. It's like one of you after another. I can't, like, I'm falling apart here.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then kind of rallies with the treatments. I laughed really hard.
Yeah. I also just kind of, you know, Nat's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh, Nat has drunk the Kool-Aid, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Now, at least.
This is unexpected.
She's so rah-rah cult camp.
Uh-huh.
And Misty is playing a role.
Right.
As she likes to do. She's undercover.
Exactly.
Man, Nat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it together, girl.
So they have that little scene, and then we've got Ty and Van in the woods.
Yeah, talking about the baby, and Van then revealing, I thought, you know, I've been through so much, and I wrote, yes, the wolves, the fire, more fire. And she's saying, I thought it must have been for something, but now I don't know. I'm out of ideas. I'm afraid it might have been for nothing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And Ty tries to bully her by saying, well, you saved me. You know, I'm sleeping. You were saved for me.
Right. Oh,
you're right, Heather.
Which is sweet. You know, I was kind of glad that Van was able to be the voice of sort of, if we're being realistic here, we're in the wilderness and people are dying, and then started to talk about how, like, had the baby survived, it wasn't like it probably wouldn't have made it anyway, I think is what she was really trying to say, which is something you and I have talked about. So it was, you know, maybe satisfying to hear a voice that was talking about that, because they really hadn't very much the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Baseball Hat Girl and I believe Jen, they bring up the idea of maybe the baby and Crystal are what caused the snow to stop. And Lottie says, that's not how it works. You can't bargain or haggle with the wilderness. So now we pray. We pray for Crystal. But this is Lottie stepping up more and more into her
for sure,
as leader. And I thought that was significant. bit.
Yeah, and she does that little by little. Each episode we see it a little bit more. And this episode, between that and the scene later on, you can definitely see that she's stepping up to be that leader. Yeah.
Whereas before it was all kind of questioning and, well, maybe we should, and what if we, and now it's with more authority.
And conviction. And
yes, conviction. Yeah.
Where do you think that's coming from for her? Like, what's validating that for her?
I think the results, but I think also the way the girls are following. What do you
they're
think?
Looking to her anyway, or they're allowing it. So that's kind of the green light for her to do it.
Yeah, I think maybe from what I've gotten to know of Lottie, past Lottie this season, I think it's all with good intention. And I think she wants to give them answers.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Give them comfort and leadership. So she's thinking, if I step up and I'm helping, and trusting her gut more and more, I think. I mean, the baby was a boy, It's
true. Yeah, that is true too.
Okay, so back to time. Van is saying, I don't know what my purpose is. I have to figure out what it all means and why I'm still here. Then we cut to all the women with Lottie, and Lottie presenting the treatments. Another kind of funny bit where Van quickly tries to dip out, and Ty's like, I'll take, foraging or whatever she chooses.
Misty chooses guidance. Shauna chooses self-care. Ty chooses renewal. Van chooses forage.
What did you think of Van's line about Switzerland?
That was really interesting. I honestly kind of just thought about it more simply as we have these perceptions of people that we create when we are more actively in their lives, I guess, and we tend to hold them in that place and not always be able to see growth or changes maybe that they've consciously made and proven.
One of the burdens of knowing someone for so long.
Right. Exactly.
I thought it was very funny that Lottie was like, Switzerland? That was over a decade ago. What are you talking about? You think I've been there this whole time?
And they all kind of did, though, like when they started talking about it, they're like, isn't she in Switzerland? Like repeatedly.
Yeah. But I think Van, being the Van that we know from past Van, is much more knowledgeable. The way she says Switzerland, it's like a euphemism for, I thought you were locked up somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Or, and that you are not mentally stable. And therefore you're telling us to do this stuff when you're not mentally stable.
Yeah. So, glad you're no longer in Switzerland.
Yeah. Good for you.
Good for you. But I'm going to dip.
Yeah.
And then Ty pulls her right back with, I'm jumping in. So you got to jump in with me.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call it rummaging.
Which is also kind of what she does. And that's more than foraging. She really probably just rummages for her alcohol. Oh, I did have a question. I know that like goat therapy and horse equine therapy are popular forms of
aorta treatment mostly.
Right. But I was wondering about the others that we saw. Were those treatments that are real and are practiced? Particularly the water one, because that one fascinated me and I was so terrified of it, but also
the isolation tank. Yeah, that was one of those like 60s, 70s. It was big back then, where you would like take LSD and go float in the tank. It's salt water. It's like recreating the womb.
Okay.
But also you have no stimuli. So you're forced to go into your mind.
Gotcha.
And then just kind of float. Yeah. See what comes up.
It can be terrifying. She was kind of hallucinating. Do you think that she had taken some kind of LSD, or because I was wondering, like, she's having this sort of trippy fantasy.
Yeah, no, I think that when people are in tanks like that, they have really vivid experiences that can involve hallucinations and being back in memories. And equine therapy is about confidence,
Okay. Yeah.
And trust. The goat one, I think that's one that Lottie made up.
Well, I know a lot of people like goats and they like baby goats and they like to, kind of care for them. And I watched Dexter too, and like Dexter New Blood, there was a goat that he had befriended. So I kind of thought of it as a way of like proving that you can nurture something, like Lottie says about it, that you're nurturing something that's innocent. And
the moment I saw goat, I wrote in my notes, kid, because it's
that too. Yeah.
Like kid, Shauna can nurture a child and keep it alive and not have to kill it at the end of the day. I loved how Shauna's brain immediately went to, so I'm going to have to kill it, right?
Oh, I know, right? She was so sure of that. Yeah.
I know what this is. I'm going to bond with it, and then you're going to make me kill it. Poor
Like,
Shauna.
why would they make you do that? Why would,
Right. Well, it's cult camp.
Okay.
So
But you really see there her insecurities about being a mother in general.
I love that all came up.
Yes, me
I mean,
too.
it was kind of basic, but it was good, and she needed it.
She did, yeah.
And after all the talk that we had in the last episode about whether or not Shauna had prepped Callie to give that line about the weird balls, Detective Dum Dum,
yeah,
or if that was Callie, she came up with that on her own, off Shauna's, you should have just had sex with him, would have made it easier to get me off. But yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to see Shauna take a change in the way she is with Kelly.
I hope so. I think so. It also made me wonder, like, how she was when Callie was a baby.
Yeah, that's a really
I
good
wonder,
point.
did Jeff do the majority of the sort of nurturing work? Did he change a lot of diapers? Did he do bedtime? Like, it made me wonder, how she was.
Well, she says to Lottie, I'd have these horrible thoughts that she wasn't real or that she was going to die. I could never just know she was mine and love her.
Right.
And kind of enjoy being a mom.
Right. Yeah.
She wouldn't ever let herself go there.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought, I think earlier we'd posited maybe she was terrified that she would feel those feelings again.
Right. And then it would be taken away from her.
Right. That she would be put in that position again of, it's too painful to talk about almost.
Yeah. You really see, like, these people, and Shauna especially, really have needed a lot more help than they've sought out, which is crazy to me. But maybe that's part of the reason they said it in a time frame that wasn't the present day, because I feel like in present day that would be a bit more of an active effort.
Well, we saw it with Lottie when she came back. The dad's like, fix her. You doctor, take her, fix her, and then we'll take her back.
So I'm definitely interested and curious on how, like, the other people did in the immediate return.
I've got predictions and I've got thoughts, so let's move ahead.
So we get the little insert of Ben and the brief conversation he has with Paul, right? Yeah. So the little fantasy that he has that we talked about earlier. And then...
So they're looking for Crystal, and it's like Lottie, Akila, Jen, maybe baseball hat girl, Ty, and Lottie pulls Ty back with her at the tree stump altar and suggests, you were the one that found Javi. Your altar, basically. You're, in touch with the wilderness, in a roundabout way, suggests that maybe Ty could use that altar to find Crystal. And Ty says, I don't want that. Since joining your circles and doing your woo-woo stuff, it's gone away. I don't want it to come back. And then Lottie says, it's powerful. It's still there, and that's a good thing.
So that really made me think about, like, mental health, and in particular, dealing with maybe whether it's bipolar or anything or schizophrenia, where a lot of times you hear that once somebody gets on medication that they don't feel like themselves.
That's more because, from what I know of antipsychotics and mood stabilizers, they tend to numb the person where they just don't feel much of anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what you're
That's what, because I was just thinking about how it must feel to, like, lose a part of yourself.
Yeah.
That makes you who you are, even if it's not healthy or good. You know what I mean? But Ty, was relieved. And I just thought it might be confusing or frustrating to feel like you were being tried that she wanted to use her for that, instead of considering that, like, that's something that Ty has ownership of, as it's a part of her.
I think Lottie's point of view has always been, ever since going off of her meds, think about having this large part of yourself kind of snuffed out or kept under a blanket in your mind. And all this talk from present and past, mostly present Lottie, about how when she was in the wilderness, she was her truest, most authentic self.
Yeah.
I think she's misconstruing or confusing her authentic self with just being able to feel all parts of herself.
Okay. That's what I was kind of like wanting to talk about and get to. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we first met Lottie, in this season. We hear her giving a speech to the culties about why you're here, and you're here to unpack all of your issues and baggage, and we're out here in the woods because we're going to get in touch with our most primal authentic selves. Right, without medication, without society, without constraints. And I think that whether or not Lottie's intuition is psychic, or if there's something supernatural about her intuition, I think just being able to feel deeply is something that she's appreciating, and maybe turning into something bigger than it really is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And advocating that others do the same.
Gosh, that's really well said. That makes so much sense.
And it's become now her brand.
Oh, wow. That's brilliant, Liz.
It's not brilliant, but
it is. It's so insightful. I didn't even think about it that way. Like you just answered that question for me, and that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Ty's experience has been more of a frightening one, having someone or something take over, where you lose control.
Yeah.
You wake up and you've lost time, or you find yourself with a mouthful of dirt in a tree.
Oh God.
You don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that to happen.
Oh no, heck no.
I would want to stamp that out immediately. So yeah, I think Lottie is thinking, we're having a similar experience, and Ty's thinking, no, we're not.
Right. Yeah.
Very different. Yeah. But I'm glad you brought up that bit.
Yeah, because I was feeling that, and I was trying to identify the difference there. And so the way you put it, that makes sense.
Lottie says it has wisdom and a direct connection to the wilderness. Yeah.
So after we have that scene with Lottie and Ty in the past, then we cut to the present day, where Ty is painting the cabin with a makeup brush, as she put it. And
says Lottie, can we just jump to what is my problem?
Exactly. So that's when Ty reveals to Lottie that she's having visions again.
Yeah. And Lottie basically reiterates.
Right.
She said the altar,
I do find it interesting that, like, here Ty is sharing something like this with Lottie, but Lottie doesn't share back and say, me too.
I know.
So Lottie sort of has this information that she's not sharing that probably also would help make Ty feel a little less alone.
I know.
And would also add to the feeling of not being crazy. Like, there really is something here that we've brought back with us if we're both experiencing it, whether it's technically real or not, but I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder why. Do you think she's so used to being in the leadership role that...
Probably so, yeah.
That's a really good point, though, that, I mean, they are bonding. Maybe Lottie's just still so kind of freaked out by them all being at camp. Yeah.
And wondering what it means for her too, because she's scared, because she's having these visions again, and doesn't want to admit that she might not be in control, because right now she's supposed to be in control.
I think you just kind of hit what I was going to say. Lottie's hasn't had the hallucinations for 25 years.
Right.
I think she's so used to not being without them that she doesn't really think of them anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't think of herself like Ty.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Hallucinations are not really a thing for me anymore, so why bring them up?
Right.
Because she doesn't know if she's really having them again or not.
Right. I mean, that's true too. You're right. She doesn't really realize it until the scene with the therapist.
Yeah, she's had a couple. She's getting worried and doesn't really have the full impact of like they're really back.
Right.
Or doesn't acknowledge it until later.
Yeah.
But it's just, Ty's saying, I'm putting my family in danger. I can't do this. And just reiterates, it's a good thing. Hold on to it. It's still there. Take comfort in that.
Yeah. And then we cut to, that's Shauna in the woods, and Misty, who had been ushered to her isolation tank, escaped by way of the bathroom. He had decided to run away, and so she finds Shauna in the woods, and they have this conversation. And I wondered how Shauna didn't realize the goat like, what is Shauna doing, sitting there staring into the distance? Like, how did she realize the goat disappeared?
It's not a mouse.
Yeah, exactly.
size of a dog, maybe like a mid-sized dog.
Right.
I took down some of the conversation first because I thought it was funny when Misty says, like, why are you so worried about killing this goat? Well, if it helps, you just pretend it's your artsy fartsy lover. You seemed pretty quick to get stabby with him.
Yeah.
Well, and then Shauna says, he attacked me. And Misty says, I'm just joshing with you. I don't want to be joshed with. I'm not like you. I don't think of killing as a joke. And Misty says, newsflash, I'm the only person that took your killing with the seriousness that it required. I fixed that for you, and you're not even grateful. Shauna says, I'm grateful that your hobby seems to be figuring out how to be the perfect serial killer. Misty says, why does everyone keep saying that to me? And Shauna says, because it's the truth. It's a fact. And Misty says, well, you're not that innocent. And Shauna says, I know that. Don't you think I know that?
Mm-hmm.
So some truth telling.
Finally. Yeah. It was nice to have Shauna finally be more honest.
And for Misty to stand up for herself.
Yeah, that too. I agree. You're right.
Like people keep telling me I'm a killer, but we're all killers. Have you guys forgotten that?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, knife girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. It was nice. It was and so that in this too, you really see that like there is growth happening. They may not realize it in the moment, but it's already doing its job.
Yeah. Oh, you mean being at Camp Cult?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we're in the past. The girls are calling for Crystal and Misty fake crying. I can't do
that. That was the fake cry that was
bad acting. So she can get alone. And she says, I'm not going to let them eat you, Kristen.
That was totally not what I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was expecting, because we talked about how we were thinking that the person they're carrying back is Kristen.
Yeah.
Where's Kristen?
Okay. I wrote tunnels, baby. There are definitely tunnels. When the pilot came out, when the show was being presented, the elevator pitch, opposing cannibalistic groups in the wilderness.
Okay.
And we've been waiting for a split.
Yeah.
I was sure of it.
Right.
But now.
And then, and the last couple weeks, I'm like, I don't know. I don't really see them splitting anymore.
You've been saying that. Yep. And I've been holding fast to
Makes
moving
sense.
a little more towards your idea that maybe they're not going to split, but I've still had that in my head.
Yeah.
But now I'm really thinking cannibals in tunnels.
Yeah.
They saw, unclaimed body.
Uh-huh.
I've seen on Reddit and I've heard online people talking about, well, when Misty tried to perform CPR, the blood came out, there was a gurgle, maybe Crystal was still alive, the hold could have kept her to where she could have been resuscitated. Without brain death or whatever.
True. Yeah.
But I think it makes more sense that tunnel people saw food and took it.
No, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's without a doubt somebody's taken her, and we know Javi was somewhere because he's still alive. So whoever took Javi, whatever group that is, I think that's the same people that took Kristen.
If she's alive, I would be surprised.
If she were alive, she'd be in really bad shape anyway.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, both legs broken. I'm sure back broke. I mean, it would be horrific. So.
Okay. It's television. I could see it.
Right.
But I think that would be a weird choice.
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, she's with the tunnel people.
Mm-hmm. And so Misty's so like in the moment and terrified and looking for Kristen. And then next thing you know, that's where, when she sees Ben.
I wrote all the ways she tried to convince him. Well, I thought it was terrible that he wanted her to push him.
Oh, I know.
Come on, dude.
Even that was just messed up. It's like, you guys, she's a kid. We don't have to I just think it's really interesting how, when you get labeled something and if everybody's kind of pushing that on you and how much of it is who you are inside and how much of it is what people say you are. And then to this point where you begin to believe it.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. Then it goes to Shauna in the back of the shed. I'm worried that it ate the rope. She says, I can kill this thing at the end of the day, but I'm not going to watch as it gets sick. And dies in my arm, and the guy's, holding fast, like, this is how we do it. And she's like, well, sees Lottie. I'm going to talk to Lottie. I'm going to the manager.
But you really see her fear. And it did make me wonder if, like, when Callie was little, was she maybe taking her to the doctor a lot? Like, how did all of these insecurities about not being able to care for something, how have they, like, manifested over the years, especially in early motherhood?
It makes a lot of sense that Callie grew up a daddy's girl because probably just wasn't bonding,
Right.
wasn't engaging.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Like, how did she all the typical bonding that happens
Right.
from infancy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and all the things that you're naturally afraid of.
Yeah.
When my youngest niece, the first probably 6 to 8 months, even though I was helping, and I helped more than I did with my first niece in terms of like changing diapers and stuff like that. But I was so scared. I was always scared to hold her. I'm like, I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want to,
Yeah. Any cough, any temperature.
Yeah.
Right to the doctor.
And I don't have that trauma.
The way we've seen a lot of the girls kind of schisming or, dissociating, I bet Shauna did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Kind of not being present. And, that should have created a monster in Callie.
Right. You're right.
Not having that bond.
Yeah.
Having an insecure bond with mom. But I imagine Jeff had to really step up.
Attachment theory is such a fascinating topic to me, too.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And how that would affect you. Right. Exactly. Like you said.
An ambivalent attachment. Yeah. I mean, that creates sociopaths.
Right.
Or can't.
But, it was also nice to see Shauna sort of being vulnerable and kind of breaking down and admitting.
It was like a really cathartic cry.
And she really tries to put on a face sometimes because, because you have to, because look at what she went through.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of young Shauna and a lot of like Sophie in Melanie and in adult Shauna in this episode.
I did too. I was just going to say, we saw a lot of past Shauna really grieving.
Right.
And present day Shauna grieving Callie.
Yeah, right.
And the child she lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shauna really opening up. But you're right. I felt the same way. So yeah, so Lottie basically says like, no, you don't have to kill the goat. That's not what we're doing. Oh, Lisa finds Misty. Hearts are just please this time get in the tank.
Yeah, just do it. Nobody cares that you're in here.
That's what I was gonna say. Lisa's like, no one cares that you're here or where you are. Just get in the tank.
Yeah.
And then Misty has her little interlude,
which is just amazing, and I love him to pieces.
Bananas. He's talking to Caligula. Is that who you love?
Yes. I forget the actor's name. He's so great. There's a show that was called Shrill. Yes. Shrill on Hulu.
On Hulu. Yeah.
I feel like it's, really the first show that I ever watched where I felt so like seen and represented and had no idea that I felt that way. And I remember at the end of the first episode, I had laughed and cried, and I had not ever realized that I hadn't felt that before until I watched it. So yeah, it was such a good show. Beautiful show. Funny. Just perfect. I love it so much. They had 3 seasons on Hulu. But yeah, John Cameron Mitchell is who was playing Caligula.
He's in it.
Yes, that's who it was.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna watch.
And so he was in Shrill as well, and fantastic in Shrill. And so I always love getting to see him pop up and do something quirky and funny and use his singing talents and all of that stuff, because he's a wonderful Broadway performer as well.
I remember seeing things on Reddit, he had posted a photograph saying something about how he played Caligula, and everyone was like, what? How? What would that look like?
That's amazing.
And now we know.
I love it.
He was great. He was really great.
So good.
Yeah, so her hallucination is basically about, am I a killer? Is that all people see? Am I just someone desperate for love? And sweet Caligula helps her realize that he says, you are not a murderer, Misty. You're a closer. What does that mean?
I felt like that meant that, like, well, he was comparing it to how she was playing soccer.
But she didn't play. She was the ball girl or the towel girl, right?
Well, then it's her fantasy. Okay. I felt like that's what I don't know. That's interesting, because that's what he says to her. He says, like, how many I'm
He's
right there.
building her up, right?
Yeah. So he says, like, how many times did you get the ball over the goal line? I think what he means, I think he's using that as a metaphor, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's saying, like, you know, you fix things, you finish things, you're, you know, yeah. So not about her playing soccer. You
Come
know,
through. You
yeah.
delivered the baby. You got Shauna over the finish line.
Yeah.
You helped Shauna later in life getting rid of Adam.
Right.
Well, Shauna fucked that part up. But yeah, Misty, she's always coming through in a clutch for the
Right.
girls.
Yeah.
Right? And no one sees that.
Right.
But Walter saw it. So she dreams up a message from Walter, like, I love you, with the heart.
In the Morse code.
Oh my God. When she calls Walter, that scene killed me. I watched it like 3 times.
Oh, the voicemail she left?
Yes. You hang up. No, you hang up. No, you
hang up. I know, that was so good.
I was dying.
Yeah.
That was what I meant in my text to you. Like,
yeah. Because she was performing a little scene for him too.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was very, very good. She's
Walter's outgoing message. You didn't get me, but nice try. Thus.
I'm sure somebody looked up the Morse code.
I will look for it on Reddit.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's nothing, you know, that's like super significant, but I would imagine it was something that maybe gave her the courage to then go ahead and make the call that she did.
And your grandmother sounds really lovely. I want to meet her too.
That made me laugh too. So good. I wrote in my notes, I love Misty's voicemail to Walter. There's someone for everyone.
Oh. Let's just hope that's what he was texting about, because
yes, I hope so.
Oh, he was texting about the body.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
That's why he's blowing up the phone.
Oh my God, you're so right. That's right. You're right.
It just hit me.
Just clicked.
He's not thinking of love. He's thinking of,
I
mean, he is in a way.
But he was trying to help her.
Yes.
You know, he's like, oh shit.
Oh shit. They found the torso, and they found it.
After that scene, that's when we get to, you know, her realizing that Kristen isn't there, and she's freaking out. And then she has that conversation with Ben.
She talks Ben off the mountain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I kept writing, I don't care. I don't care. She was like, we need you. Don't care. We're going to eat you, especially your delicious butt meat. Don't care. When we're saved, I'm going to tell everyone about our love story, that you impregnated Shauna, tried to impregnate all of us. I'll tell them you're gay. I don't care. Tell them. And then she goes into her, we need you. I can't handle another death on my hands.
Right? Like, I don't blame her.
I wrote, good acting saves him. Truth or acting is what I wrote.
I think that I really did feel like that was truthful. Just wouldn't it be for anybody, you know, to
again
death and everything that she's had to witness? I just felt like it was genuine. Maybe not, but it felt like it was to me.
It did. I agree. Do you really think Misty's fazed by death? Even a young
No, and I mean, like, you bring up a great point. She doesn't seem to be fazed by it. You're right. So if she wasn't being totally honest there, that was definitely some very good acting.
I mean, I think she doesn't want to lose Coach. Probably does not want another death.
Yeah.
Who does, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't want death, but I don't think that she's up at night thinking, what if I'd only done, A, B, or C differently? Would the baby have lived?
Yeah.
And Kristen, I think that's more about her personal loss. I miss my BFF.
Yeah. Do you think she felt responsible for Crystal's death?
No, but I think in an episode full of cathartic moments, past and present, of the survivors, I think that was her cathartic moment.
Yeah.
She has two, the one elated one realizing I can love Walter, I can let him in, the same way that Shauna realizes I can let Callie in.
Right.
And just as Shauna has that breakdown in the meat shed, I think Misty has her breakdown on the mountain with Ben. Ben,
great point.
Talking him down gets her there, but I think it was about everything,
Yeah. I was glad, I know we didn't touch on it when we were there, but I was glad that Shauna let herself cry and break down, in there.
Nope, she did it alone.
Alone. Yeah, that's what I mean. She needed, she needed to let it out.
But none of you guys get any part of this.
Right. Yeah.
You don't get any part of my baby. You don't get any part of my pregnancy. You don't get any part of my grief. It's mine alone.
Right.
I don't trust any of you with it.
Yeah. Which, at this point, that's not hard to understand.
No.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the way she'd been isolating in the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
Culminating in, the end of the episode.
Right. And then we get to what I'm sad that we were right about, but we were.
Yeah.
That Van is indeed sick and dying.
Months.
Right?
And they kiss.
Did I know? Oh,
they're still in love.
I know. I put lots of hearts on my notes.
I just put sad faces.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks.
Oh, and Van and Ty's like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah.
And Van says, because you don't know me anymore. I don't know you. We don't know each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That really hurt.
But, it was also a valid point. They haven't been in touch. If they had been in touch, that might be a different story.
They just still seem so close,
Yeah. But I think that's ingrained in who they are. And plus, they're in an environment where everything else is like they're not in their own home environments. And,
right. It's reminiscent of.
Yeah. So it's removed from what would normally the normal stuff. So it was easy because they're isolated and therefore they can kind of shut out the world and pretend like everything is the same as it was, even though it's not.
But Van, always the pragmatist, is like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Mm-hmm. And that means that we might not have a ton of time with our favorite Lauren.
No,
that's the thing I'm like, no.
Why would you bring that up, Alicia? That wasn't
cool. But what I will say is I doubt they'll look. Oh, so something I thought is worth noting is the fact that Natalie says that it's been a week since she tried to kill herself.
Oh, really?
Yes. She says that like at the very beginning when all of them get there and they're like, Nat, you? Or maybe she says it towards the end. I don't know. But she says it at some point in the episode. She says, a week ago, I had a gun in my mouth.
That's right.
Yeah. So that answers, I guess, sort of the question of what is the time frame, of where we're at this point in the adult world. So that's not very long.
No. A lot has happened.
Yeah, right? So much has happened.
Which gives more context to why they would all be freaking out so much, especially Lottie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Within a week, they all come back.
Yeah. So that is kind of that's crazy and a lot. But with that said, that also means that, stuff's going to get dragged out and
more time with our Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
There you go. And then we have the next therapist scene with adult Lottie.
That's right. This is important.
Yes. And we get a very big reveal. And we discussed this in the last episode. Liz, you were right.
Not
the therapist is not there.
So I believe that she did indeed see this.
The first one?
Right. The first time.
Yeah. And I think you're probably right. Yeah.
She's been hallucinating ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what tipped me off, because I knew the second we cut to the scene, it's nighttime. That's unlikely. It seems like it has to be on site. So what, does Lottie just have some therapist that she retains and has on site? That's not likely either. And so that, like, as soon as I saw the setup, I was like, oh, Liz is right. And I loved that conversation so much. One of my favorite things that the therapist said, or whatever she represents in Lottie's mind is, when does self-repression ever serve us?
Tell me about that.
So Lottie's talking about how she kind of really put all of that in the past. The therapist says, well, maybe, we were talking about earlier, maybe when you were with those other women, you were the most free and your truest, most authentic self.
Yep.
And is there anything of value in life that doesn't come with risk or loss or consequence? And so I think all of those are very wise words. But also on the flip side of that, she's also encouraging Lottie to not shun that side of her. So if there is a dark force at work here, perhaps it's the dark force that's kind of trying to convince her to embrace that side of herself. Maybe it's not the healthiest. Maybe there's some nefarious intentions behind it. So I think like on the surface, it was great. It was a great conversation and great advice. But if we're looking at it from like the sense of the mystery of the show, I wonder if that was coming into play as well.
I mean, you think that the therapist, by starting this line of questioning of, what do you think your hallucinations are trying to tell you, or your visions?
Yeah, that it's like encouraging her to embrace those gifts and that part of her that's scary.
Yeah.
And if there is something dark that they've brought back with them, not like just repressed feelings and emotions and memories, but if there's an actual sort of dark entity, if it's trying to come out and be present, then why wouldn't it try and convince Lottie to embrace that, since she's clearly a vessel and an open vehicle with which to receive that? I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think all of it is much more about like healing from trauma. But, if we're talking about it as like a mystery type show, maybe that's sort of the intention behind that. Like this is an alternative form of Lottie going, hey, come on, like embrace it.
Yeah.
Don't push me down.
Well, and what was the line when she turned into the Antler Queen? Does a hunt that has no violence feed anyone? We're looking at the beginnings of how it becomes a ritualized hunt.
Yeah.
No longer someone died, we may as well.
Right. Yeah.
The body. Now it's turning into, we're seeing how it turned into
encouraging violence.
It needs, well, right. It started with it needs blood, or it wants blood, il Busang. And now, does a hunt that has no violence feed anyone? How do you think that ties into, or do you think it ties into what we see coming after with the beating of Lottie?
Wow.
Like,
I didn't even think about it that way.
Is there an expression of emotion? Does it have meaning if there's no violence behind it? Can there be catharsis without violence?
Of course there can. I think that's such a weird suggestion.
Right? But it seems like that's the road they're going down.
Yeah.
Lottie's saying, we're jumping to the end, Lottie's saying, you have so much pent-up anger and grief, you have to let it out. We need you, Shauna. And then tells Travis to take Hobby into the other room and puts her hands behind her back, and Shauna beats the shit out of Lottie. I mean, she's making herself like a Jesus figure,
Right, she's sacrificing. Yeah.
Right. But why does Shauna have to beat it out of her? Why can't it be a cry in the meat shack?
I know. Yeah.
Why can't it be a burial and get your emotions out? Why does it have to be this violent act?
Exactly. I don't know. I felt like I understood it at first, but then when it got really violent, then it didn't make sense to me.
I mean, it went on and on and on and
on. And nobody
and
pulled her off and made it stop, because she could have killed her.
I know, because Lottie said this is how it has to be.
Right.
This is what she has to do.
Yeah. And Lottie kind of offered herself up, as if to say, like, I can take it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like Misty can't take it and shouldn't take, like, I can take it, so put it on me. Which, like, metaphorically speaking, if you're, sometimes we've got to carry, if you're really close, whether it's a partner or a family member, it's like, is your burden too deep? Like, let me carry it for you for a little while.
Right.
Which, so I appreciated it in that way, but once it started and then it continued to get more and more dangerous and violent, that's when I was kind of like, what? Why are we going this far with this?
And we saw the flip that I've been thinking of with Shauna, that I was predicting 2 episodes ago, I think, that something would happen with the birth and the death that Shauna would blame Lottie for somehow. And that this would be Shauna's turn into darkness. And it looked like it with the end scene when she goes out, puts her, bloody fists in the snow,
Mhm.
and looks kind of up and to the right, like looking at wilderness God almost,
Mhm.
and doesn't look ashamed or shocked at what she's done,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
What did
Yeah, she
you
doesn't seem to be fazed by it.
so it looks like Lottie might be knocked out cold or dead, right?
She was definitely knocked out. I mean, she coughs up blood and she opens her eyes right there at the end.
Oh
So we know
God.
she so obviously we know she lives, but like,
Ugh.
ugh,
It just went on for so long.
it did. It really did. And it got to be too much. They should have made her stop.
Ah,
Shauna should have stopped. Shauna, you know, it was like what was working through Shauna there that she
that's
didn't.
what I kept thinking is
Yeah.
how can she keep going?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Like there comes a point where you're going, hello.
Who am I fighting and what am I doing?
Yeah.
It reminded me of that scene in Fight Club when the
Oh, God.
I can't,
Okay.
yeah. So just to end, I wanted to touch on each of the main characters in the present day and make some predictions about what we think this episode did for them or how
Great.
it
Yeah.
might change them or what might happen in the future.
Yeah, we see this great scene at the end where they're all kind of letting
Oh,
their guard down a little bit and reuniting all together. And, you know, they're drinking and talking, and it's certainly a loaded conversation, but it really shows you that they've all been through something. So
that
what are your
bond.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh, so real quick, in that conversation, there were some really interesting moments when Nat says something like, "What do you guys remember of that time?" Like for
Yes,
me,
yes.
I
I wrote
remember
that down
most of
too.
it. Some of it's fuzzy,
So
and
that
I
really
think
blew my mind because it made me wonder how much of what we're seeing do some of them even remember? We might
maybe,
be seeing stuff that they have no idea about or don't remember.
and that may account for the unreliable narrator alert
Yes.
buzz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think Lottie was the one who said that she's repressed a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
then I believe Nat says, or Lottie says, when repressed material always resurfaces, it always finds a way. With clients, I would use an analogy of when you're learning how to swim, those kickboards, the floaty boards that you hold on
Yeah.
to.
Mm-hmm.
When you were a kid, did you ever hold them underwater and then let go to whack someone in the face?
I know what you mean.
I
I didn't hit them in the face, but I might have done it to splash them.
well, we did it hardcore in Berkeley, but
You also had a brother.
yeah, I had a brother.
I have a brother. Yes,
That's how we feel.
I have a sister. However, sometimes she was very brother-like because she could beat the crap out of me.
Yeah. Well, so repressed memories, I would use as an analogy,
Uh-huh.
hold them down. It takes energy to hold them down.
Mm.
And then when you let go, sometimes they can come up and whack you in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
They can come up in unexpected and sometimes ways that hurt
Right.
or hurt other people.
Right.
Anyway, about predictions and
Yes.
Natalie, I think, is kind of in her little happy place of I've drunk the Kool-Aid and I'm in cult camp. I don't know how much growth I mean, aside from no longer having a gun in her mouth, nothing really to talk about. But Lottie, for example, well, the scene we just talked about, learning more about what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Ty, now that she knows that Van is dying, what if Ty were to let her altar out,
Mm-hmm.
like to use her altar to spill blood to save Van?
Oh.
Make Ty want to reconnect with her altar because her altar can fix things.
Right. Or to see that, like, if will the wilderness be able to, like, could they use it to help Van?
That's what I'm saying.
Wow, yeah. That's a great prediction, Liz.
I wrote, could the altar lead to an elixir? Leading into our other
Yes.
show.
How interesting.
Because I thought, why bring it up twice?
Yeah.
It's not just about Ty being afraid of her altar. It's about what the altar can do that's good or perceived as good.
Right. That's really, really good. I think that could definitely be something that would feasibly happen.
With Van, I wrote, what a tragedy that in coming back, Van kind of hid away from the world, so afraid of being re-traumatized, kind of living in this 90s bubble where nothing bad happens, hiding from more trauma, only to have this happen, have her life cut so short.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
wondering if Van was an early acolyte of Lottie's, if Van might turn to Lottie for a cure.
Oh, yeah. I could
If
see
she
that
might
happening.
get back into investing in we hear the wilderness and it hears us, we spill blood and it saves us.
Yeah.
Oh, I also wrote, Van has always put Ty first. He's always put Ty's needs ahead of hers.
Mm-hmm.
I will deal with the altar. I will follow you into the forest. I will, make a map. I believe in you. I trust you. But she's always looking out for Ty. When Ty might be trying to save her, I wonder if Van might sacrifice herself and say, I'm not going to let you do that to you or to your family. So that was another prediction.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And then with Shauna, I just wrote, what I talked about earlier. I wonder if we're going to see Shauna beginning to treat Callie more like a child. I wrote a real kid.
Mm-hmm.
Keep her away from Detective Dum Dum, not fuck around with Callie with such carelessness.
Right.
As
Yeah.
we've seen before.
Yeah. Stop treating her like she's a grown up and knows, how to handle all of this. And
right. Making flippant remarks like you should have just had sex with him. It could have
right.
saved. With the resurgence of the torso, if Shauna will really step up and sacrifice herself for Callie.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just keep thinking Shauna's going to prison.
That's what
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To really love, to really be a mother.
She's taking responsibility for what she did, that's the lesson.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I had.
I love it. I think that's good. Yeah, that was the main thing that I was left with at the end was yeah, what's Shauna going to do? Is she going to take responsibility for it? And those are great. Yeah.
And maybe open up to Kelly finally about what happened.
Right, which would be good too. And maybe even Jeff to some extent, but definitely Callie. I think that's probably the more important or what the relationship that they're wanting to show us and examine more so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we're seeing the beginnings of the Antler Queen
mm-hmm.
cult.
Yes.
So
yeah.
That. And hopefully, I think others will be the finale of season 2.
Yeah, I think that at the end of season 2, we will probably, get to reveal who the other group is, what it is, who it is. And I think also maybe we'll get the reveal of the early version for sure of Lottie as the Antler Queen. Well, I think that's it for this one.
Great episode.
Loved it. All right, guys, thank you for listening. We can't wait to hear your thoughts and your theories. So please don't be shy. Put them in the comments below. And we love to see those and chat with you guys about it. And if you haven't subscribed already and you enjoyed the chat, I hope you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when we're dropping new videos. We do our deep dives, but hopefully at some point we'll be able to do some fun, shorter videos too. So make sure that you're keeping your eyes peeled there. And other than that, we will be back next week for episode 8. Are we going? Yeah, episode 8. So next week. All right, get ready for some bananas.
Bye.
Bye.